The FBI thought they'd seen it all until one injured player confessed she was never hurt. So who made her sit out? The answer changes everything.
This is madness. This is madness. The Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, the whole Indiana Fever front office, and more in the WNBA are under FBI investigation. Indiana Fever under investigation for mysterious injuries that never made any sense. None of this stuff made sense.
You know, the ball has been in your hands a great deal. Being without allows other players to show what they're capable of the next year and having more. And I think you made a strong case to Stephanie White of having the ball in your hands in dribble handoffs at the top of the key where you're making decisions and you're able to hit back cuts and you're able to hit, you know, guards on the outside. And so I think that's going to actually add to your offense in the future, because when you start adding healthy players back, we're
going to be on a roll.
Yep.
We're going to be on a roll.
Yep. You're going to be on a roll. And we're going to get in that gym this offseason for sure. We've been talking about it. We need to be about it.
No, seriously.
I'm going to get you. They going to know that you in the gym with CP when you do the little over the head fake. When you come back next year in 2026 and you fake over the head, they're going to be like, she was in the gym with Candace.
Let's be real about something. Yesterday, October 29th, 2025, the sports world woke up to news that nobody saw coming. Well, actually, some people saw it coming. But most of us, we were in denial. We didn't want to believe that the league we've been celebrating, the league that just had its biggest year ever with Caitlin Clark bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball, could be caught up in something this dirty. Stephen A. Smith tried to warn us. He's been talking about how the Trump administration, through Director Kash Patel, has been intensifying FBI investigations into professional sports leagues. The NBA got hit first. Teams, players, staff members, everyone's under the microscope for gambling-related violations. And Stephen A. didn't mince words when he said, the WNBA is next. Most people laughed it off. The WNBA? Come on. The league barely gets mainstream coverage as it is. Why would federal investigators waste time on women's basketball when there are bigger fish to fry?
Caitlin Clark gets a groin injury early in the year. For weeks, even with the first groin injury, they kept saying day to day. Nobody is day to day with an injury for a month. They did that with the first groin injury. Then we move on. The second time the groin happens, what did they say? Day to day, day to day, day to day. They kept letting people buy tickets, bet on these games, do prop bets for all of this stuff. Prop bets, betting on the spread, buying tickets, but all types of stuff.
I just went to kind of make a move, and unfortunately my ankle completely rolled all the way forward, and probably one of the worst sprains I've dealt with. But I've just tried to stay positive the best I can, and but I honestly feel like I'm in a really good spot. And people don't always realize, people that are kind of in the basketball world, or whether if you're in other sports too, when you're injured, it's honestly more work than when you're playing. So I've spent so much time here. And
well, turns out those conspiracy theorists on social media weren't so crazy after all. The ones who kept posting clips of injured players looking perfectly fine courtside. The ones who questioned why injury timelines never made sense. The ones who noticed betting lines shifting dramatically right after vague injury announcements. They were seeing something the rest of us missed. The Indiana Fever is now at the epicenter of a federal investigation that could involve more than 30 individuals across the WNBA. Players, coaches, front office executives, and possibly even team owners. The allegations? Systematically faking or exaggerating injuries to manipulate gambling markets, deceive fans into buying tickets for games where star players wouldn't play, and potentially coordinating with outside entities, including luxury brands, to compensate players for sitting out. This isn't just about one team having a bad injury year. This is about a potential conspiracy that strikes at the heart of sports integrity. And it all centers around the most valuable player in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin, what's the status of your health right now, and what specifically injury-wise between the ankle and the groin was it that prevented you from playing practice here?
Yeah, honestly, I've been working really hard to get back to full health, and I feel like probably over these last couple of weeks is when I've probably started feeling my best. Obviously, my ankle kind of didn't allow me to really see where my groin was at. It was, I think, my second full court workout back when we were in, I don't even know what month that would have been, but
It has been quite absurd how many players have gotten injured, how many players have had season-ending injuries, how many star players have been out for extended periods of time. Off the top of my head, Nafisa Collier currently still out. Caitlin Clark has been out more than she has played this season. Angel Reese has had a long stretch of games that she's been out. Paige Beckers has been out for multiple injuries and also a concussion. Alyssa Thomas has spent time away. Brianna Stewart has spent time away. And just out of curiosity, I went to the WNBA injury reports just for today to see kind of who was on this list. Jordan Canada with the Atlanta Dream. She was carried to the locker room on August 10th after suffering an apparent injury in Sunday's game against the Mercury. Angel Reese obviously is out with a back injury. She's considered day to day, but Angel Reese did not even travel with the team for the Indiana Fever game. So if she's not even traveling with the team, then I don't know how she could be considered day by day. There might be something else going on. She still might be in a lot of pain. I don't even know if we're going to see Angel Reese back on the court with how horrible the Chicago Sky are doing this season. They're clearly not going to make playoffs, so I don't even know if they will bring her back for the rest of the season.
Here's where things get absolutely insane. Let's walk through the timeline of Caitlin Clark's 2024 season with the Indiana Fever. Because when you lay it out like this, it makes zero sense. Early in the season, Caitlin suffers a groin injury. Okay, groin injuries happen. They're painful. They require rest. We get it. But here's what didn't make sense. The Fever kept listing her as day-to-day for weeks. Not week-to-week. Not she'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Day-to-day. Think about what that means. Day-to-day implies that literally tomorrow she could be back on the court. It means the injury isn't serious. It means fans should keep checking back, keep buying tickets, keep setting their fantasy lineups, keep placing their prop bets on whether she'll hit 5 threes or get 10 assists. But nobody is day-to-day with the groin injury for a month. Nobody. That's not how injuries work. Either it's minor and you're back in a few days, or it's serious and you need weeks to recover. The Fever played this middle ground that kept everyone guessing and kept money flowing into ticket sales and gambling markets. Then the second groin injury happened, and guess what the team said? Day to day. Again, for another extended period. They kept saying she was working out every day, getting closer, could return any moment. Fans who bought tickets to games against the Minnesota Lynx, the Fever played them 3 times in the span of a week, kept hearing she might play this game. Then she didn't. Then she might play the next one. Then she didn't.
You know, my goal, it was the end of October to kind of be out there and trying to get back to playing 5-on-5, and I think that's a very reasonable thing for me. And you know, I've been grinding as hard as I possibly can, and you know, that's how it's always kind of just been for me. Like, I love the work. I love putting in the work, and you know, it's been difficult not being able to like see the time you put in, being able to put on your jersey and see it pay off. But I think, like I said, I think it's been a really good opportunity for me to.
For over 2 months, the Indiana Fever strung fans along with vague injury updates. And here's what makes this potentially criminal. People were making financial decisions based on these injury reports, betting on game spreads, placing prop bets on Caitlin's stats, buying expensive tickets expecting to see the rookie sensation. And the team kept them guessing right up until game time. But wait, it gets worse. Toward the end of the season, conflicting reports started emerging about an ankle injury. Chloe Peterson from the Indy Star, who covers the Fever closely, reported that Caitlin's extended absence had nothing to do with an ankle injury. Nothing. But Sky Agnes, another reporter, said it was all about the ankle. 2 journalists covering the same team with completely different information about why their star player couldn't play. How does that happen? How do you have conflicting reports about a basic medical fact unless someone is deliberately muddying the waters? And here's the kicker, the part that should make every WNBA fan furious. Caitlin Clark herself said she was ready to come back. She wanted to play. Teammates later mentioned how tough it was watching her prepare every day, thinking that would be the day she got back on the court, only to be told no, again and again. She was ready. The medical staff apparently cleared her, at least in her mind, but somebody said no. Somebody with decision-making power kept her off the court. Why? What possible reason could there be to keep your healthy franchise player, the player bringing unprecedented attention and revenue to your organization, on the bench? Unless playing her would mess up somebody's financial arrangements, unless her return would disrupt carefully placed bets, unless there were interests beyond basketball dictating when and how she played.
No surgery. She's at the games in nice fits. At least with Sydney Colson, we saw her tear her ACL. She had to get surgery. We saw Ari McDonald. She had to get surgery. We saw Sophie Cunningham have to get surgery, walking with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were able to see these things. When Caitlin Clark was supposed to come back, they're talking about an ankle injury that none of us ever heard of. And then we got conflicting reports from Fever insider reporters. Chloe Peterson.
So let's follow the money, because that's what the FBI is doing right now. And once you see the financial incentives at play, everything starts to make sense. First, there's the gambling angle. Sports betting has exploded in the United States. You can bet on anything now. Game outcomes, point spreads, player props. How many points will Caitlin Clark score? Will she hit 5 threes? Over/under on assists. Every aspect of every game has a betting market. And all of those markets move based on injury reports. Think about it. If Caitlin Clark is listed as probable or day-to-day, the betting lines are one thing. But if she's suddenly ruled out an hour before tip-off, those lines shift dramatically. And if you know in advance that she's not actually going to play, even though the public reports say she might, you can make a fortune. The Indiana Fever kept fans, gamblers, and the media guessing for months about Caitlin's status. Every game, people were checking injury reports, trying to get inside information, placing last-minute bets based on the latest rumors. That's an enormous amount of money flowing through betting markets based on intentionally vague information. And it wasn't just Caitlin. Every one of these mysterious injuries created uncertainty that could be exploited by anyone with insider knowledge. Did Dearest Dantis really have a concussion? Is Chloe Busby actually hurt? The people making these decisions knew the truth. The public didn't. That's an information advantage that's worth millions in betting markets. Then there's the ticket sales angle. The Indiana Fever sold more tickets in 2024 than they had in years, all because of Caitlin Clark. Fans were desperate to see her play, so when the team kept saying she was day-to-day and could return any game now, people kept buying tickets, kept hoping they'd get to see her, kept shelling out money for the chance to watch the most exciting player in women's basketball. But she wasn't actually day-to-day. She was out for months, and by the time fans realized they'd been misled, the team already had their money. And now we're hearing about luxury brands allegedly paying players to sit out. This one sounds crazy, but when you think about it, it makes sense from a twisted business perspective. If you're a brand like Gucci and you want your athletes to be seen but not necessarily performing, what's the play? Keep them courtside in your designs. Keep them in public, looking glamorous, getting photographed, but not actually playing basketball where they might get sweaty, might get hurt, might not look camera ready. So you pay them to stay injured. You compensate them for sitting out while wearing your brand. The athlete gets paid, you get publicity, and the only people who lose are the fans who wanted to see them play. This is where the FBI investigation under the Trump administration comes in. Director Kash Patel, personally involved in these sports integrity investigations, isn't messing around. They started with the NBA, and now they're coming for the WNBA. Over 30 individuals potentially implicated. Players who accepted money to sit out, coaches who manipulated playing time for financial gain, front office executives who issued misleading injury reports to deceive the public. The Indiana Fever is just the beginning. If this investigation proves what it seems to be uncovering, the entire WNBA could be looking at a crisis that threatens its existence. Here's where we are right now. It's late October 2025. The WNBA just finished what should have been its greatest season ever. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new fans to women's basketball. Attendance was up, TV ratings were up, the future looked bright. And now it's all potentially crumbling because of a gambling and fraud scandal that could dwarf anything we've seen in women's sports. The FBI investigation is ongoing. Everyone connected to the Indiana Fever is under the microscope. Stephanie White, the head coach, the front office executives who approved misleading injury reports, the medical staff who signed off on diagnoses that didn't make sense, the players who may have accepted money to sit out, and potentially people in other women's NBA organizations who were part of the same schemes. Think about what this means for the fans. The people who bought season tickets expecting to see Caitlin Clark. The people who placed bets based on injury reports they thought were truthful. The people who planned trips to Indianapolis, bought hotels, bought flights, made it a whole event to see the hottest rookie in basketball, only to find out they'd been deceived. That's not just unethical, that's potentially fraud. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. The kind of charges that carry serious prison time. And think about what this means for the WNBA as a league. They just had their breakthrough year. They finally have mainstream attention. Companies are investing, sponsors are signing up, media rights deals are being negotiated. And now there's a federal investigation suggesting the games might have been rigged, the injuries might have been fake, and the whole thing might have been a scam to manipulate betting markets. How do you recover from that? How do you ask fans to trust the league again when they have evidence that they were systematically lied to? How do you ask media partners to invest millions when the integrity of the competition is in question? These are questions that don't have easy answers, and the uncomfortable truth is that this might not be limited to the Indiana Fever. If federal investigators are saying over 30 people are involved, that's across multiple teams. That's a systemic problem. That means the rot goes deeper than one franchise making bad decisions. Are other teams involved? Were there coaches in other cities pulling the same stunts? Were there league officials who knew what was happening and looked the other way? The more the FBI digs, the worse this could get. But here's what we know for sure. The people who raised questions about these suspicious injuries were right. The fans who pointed out that something didn't add up were right. The so-called conspiracy theorists who noticed patterns and demanded answers were right. Caitlin Clark wanted to play. She said she was ready. They stopped her. Why? We're about to find out, and the answer is probably going to be ugly. Dearest Dantas had a month-long concussion from an incident nobody witnessed. Chloe Busby had a surgery-free knee injury while barely playing. The pattern was there all along. People just didn't want to see it. Now, the FBI is making everyone look. And what they're finding is going to change women's basketball forever. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about trust. It's about integrity. It's about whether fans can believe what they're being told when they invest their time, money, and passion into a sport. The Indiana Fever is at the center of a storm that could reshape the entire WNBA. Federal investigators are digging through records, interviewing witnesses, following money trails, and the truth is coming out whether people want it to or not. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If your favorite team was involved in something like this, manipulating injuries, deceiving fans, coordinating with gamblers, would you still support them? Or is there a line that once crossed can't be forgiven? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story is far from over, and as more details come out, we'll be here breaking it all down. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next update, because trust me, this is about to get a lot bigger before it gets better. Hit that notification bell, drop a like if you found this informative, and share this with anyone who needs to know what's really going on in the WNBA right now. The truth is coming, and it's going to be explosive.